All right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is Wander Stars. Unleash custom attacks by combining words in this super anime turn-based RPG. Collect all 200 words, earn pep-ups from honorable victories, and become a Kai Master. I Ki? I honestly don't know how that's pronounced. It's a made-up word for this game, so it's up to interpretation right now. Befriend your rivals, uncover dark mysteries, and seek out the pieces of the Wander Star map in a wild race across the universe. Right then. So that, I think, is a pretty sufficient descriptor of what this game is, at least on the surface. Yeah, so it is indeed a very anime-inspired RPG, a traditional turn-based RPG at that. But it also incorporates some of the major indie gaming trends that are going on right now. I did mention in the Flick Rogue game review that this is using roguelike mechanics. It's also using deck builder mechanics. I know that sounds weird, but it's got things like the maps are put together randomly, or at least procedurally generated. The encounters change, and like stuff like your word list. You get a base amount of words per episode and can increase that through various methods, among other things. That's where the pep-ups come into play, which is basically your equipables. And instead of it being necessarily like straight armor or weaponry, it's something to do with one thing or another that allows you to carry words, dissuade elemental attacks. Like here you can see the battle menu, and how this works is there's 3 layers of words. There's your adjective, adverb. Well, putting them into those modifiers isn't quite accurate, because you've got your special, extra, these kind of words that do various modifiers versus your elemental modifiers, fire, water, flame, wind, etc., etc. And then you have your actual verbs, your actions: block, punch, kick, strike, whip, claw, the descriptor of your actual move. And each one of those takes up a space here. And one of the roguelike modifiers is how many spaces you get. Like, you start off with 3, you can unlock like 4 or 5 within a level, and after you complete an episode, that's when you can do the roguelite stuff. As in, you build up your word list. You are able to do other improvements like carry more items, which, by the way, is a actual action. You know, you have to use the item. It's not a free move. It's an action. It takes up one of your slots, and that's where you heal. You get items to heal. You get items to do modifier. You know, standard item stuff there. Some items can only be used in battle. Some can be used outside of battle, etc., etc., etc. And that bit about honorable victories, that's another mechanic. When you get like your ideal battle is to wear down your opponents. You know, you get them into the red zone, and then you will literally peace out. You'll flash the peace sign, and you'll run away, and you'll get rewarded for that. In not just the pep ups, but also more experience points called honor points. You use the honor points in between chapters in order to do the permanent upgrades. So basically what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of systems at work here. Far more than your average indie JRPG inspired thing. So it's actually got a lot going for it. Not the least of which is the actual art and aesthetics here. Like, I am genuinely wondering how many people worked on this for how long, because this is like, yeah, this could have been an animated show levels of quality animation here.
Yeah, there's definitely some like classic Dragon Ball homages in here.
Yeah, you're gonna find a lot of Dragon Ball in this. On the downside, the writing kind of reflects that as well. I say this because this comes from Fellow Traveler, which is known for a lot of literary experiments in the gaming field. We've covered some of them this year, like 1000 Times Resist and Citizen Sleeper 2. The game's writing here is nowhere near on those levels here. It's not bad, but it's also like if you're watching a shonen battle anime that's aimed for Japanese 16-year-olds and the like, that's what you're getting with this. And not even the loftier ambitions like, say, Attack on Titan, which tried to have deeper themes and stuff to say. Whether or not it accomplished those, that's an argument for another day.
That's an MSP topic that might involve drinks to be passed out beforehand.
Right. What I'm saying is, yeah, this is more like, well, Dragon Ball Z or Yu Yu Hakusho. You know, it's definitely better. It's definitely a bit deeper than, say, Beyblade, or Pokemon. You know, the thing with shonen is there are levels of sophisticated writing because it's such a versatile field.
Hey,
That's
sometimes
mainly
Beyblade gets surprisingly sophisticated.
True, but
or at least surprisingly not straightforward. I'm semi joking, but yeah, like Beyblade and Azuma 11, stuff like that are all.
Yeah. You know, this is closer to the pure toyetic shonen that appear on like Disney XD these days, versus the stuff that gets picked up for modern day Toonami. Like, I definitely would not compare the writing to Well, actually, I could compare it to like Dan to Dan in certain regards, in that there's Lovelorn there, because Ringo here is one of the main characters, and she's your typical shonen protagonist. Like, if you've seen a shonen series, you've seen this protagonist. It's just her hair isn't quite as ridiculous. It's more 80s feathered than shonen spikes. But, the other main character is an anthropomorphic space wolf named, Wolf with an E. He's the one who has a piece of the star map, lands on the planet here, and kind of the inciting incident into the grand adventure. Also,
Ringo's hair is definitely doing the trying to look like an apple thing.
Well, that's a nickname that comes up.
Ringo is Japanese for apple, yes.
Yeah. And they use that as a bit of, insulting her. Applehead. It's not a great joke, but it's there, I guess. Like I said, they named the wolf with an E. That's kind of my point in terms of the limits of the writing here. Like, the writing's kind of at a older child, young teen level, but not really getting into heavier stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, given who the publisher is, don't expect a tour de force literary wise, which could set up some expectations given the production values here. Anyway, like I said, as far as the gameplay goes, it's pretty standard JRPG stuff at its core. But it's more the implementation and, the twistiness with the words that makes it interesting to a point. Like, you're probably still going to feel a bit fatigued by it if you don't like turn-based combat, because it's all turn-based combat. Like, also, this game has a bit of the visual novel infusion here with these dialogue scenes. Thankfully, they don't drag on for too long, which is a problem that I've had with other games that tried to mix role-playing elements and visual novels. Looking at you, Idea Factory. And yeah, honestly, this is one of the better games I've played this year. I think it's just a bit unfortunate on the timing, because this game's coming out in the busy season, even for indie titles. Like, I haven't heard a whole lot of chatter around WanderStar. Next, giving that it's coming out in the same time as the likes of Hades 2 and Silk Song, Silent Hill F, among other titles. And once again, unfortunately, the writing chops aren't quite there. Because, I certainly heard a lot of conversation around 1000 Resist last year, and this year Citizen Sleeper 2. Not so much with this one. And in terms of story and writing, it's skewing younger. That has its upsides. That has its downsides. It is what it is. But on the other hand, it's a pretty accessible JRPG inspired thing. I can't call it an actual JRPG because it comes from Brazil. But anyway.
I mean, it's been a style rather than a country of origin for a while, I think. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it still gets into an argument.
Some people are more strict about it than others.
I'm one of the more strict ones because it's literally Japanese RPG. Like, maybe if you didn't make the actual thing a country, if it were an Eastern RPG, and even then, I'm not here to get into a semantics argument right now. The point is, it's a really good one of these, and it's nice to see something turn-based because we don't get a lot of those on the indie circuit. We're not completely barren of them. And also, it's not a retro throwback either, in the sense that, here's another game inspired by Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI, or, insert 16 or 8-bit RPG here. It's definitely inspired by 90s shonen. But, that's a unique avenue for a game. That's coming from the West, at least. And, actual anime games, well, they're still making Dragon Ball games, for example. Anyway, now, pricing. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this game is really reflective of its production values. By that, I mean, for an indie game, it's on the more expensive end of things, as it clocks in at $24.99, $31.97 with the collector's edition, which is the soundtrack and the art and the sketchbook. Probably worth it for the sketchbook. The music is all right, but not really all. It's not top tier stuff music wise. But I could definitely see wanting the sketchbook, given the detail on hand here. Anyway, is this game worth $25 to $32? I'm gonna say yes, just on its aesthetical values, because look at this. There is a ton of time, work, and effort going on in the visuals. And the gameplay as well, a bit trend chasey, I won't lie, but it's still solid stuff. I'd say the weaknesses are more in the music and the writing, but it's not too weak. Basically what I'm saying is, this game at the end of the day justifies its price tag. Right. So Petty, Galax, anything else you want to add to the Wander Stars conversation?
I'm good
here.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right. So yeah, definitely a contender for best of the year. And yeah, that'll about do it for this installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. So coming up on the week ahead, let me see here. On Wednesday, October 8th, we'll be welcoming Paul of the Phantom Fellows. The Phantom Fellows is the name of the developer and the name of the game. It's a adventure game inspired by the earlier Sierra classics, like the EGA stuff. Though it's obvious, it's got that early King's Quest, Space Quest look. Though it's got modern color schemes and graphics. You know, it's one of those things. Anyway, The Phantom Fellows is about two best friends who start a paranormal investigation business together, since one of them is already dead. We do have a new episode of MSP planned as well. As a reminder, MSP has now moved over to its own channel on Twitch. So if you haven't already updated your bookmarks, be sure to do so in the next couple of days.
Also, we do have some
and
side
we do have
content.
a Friday show scheduled. And I swear I'm not making this up, but on Friday, October 10th, we'll be welcoming Jack Daniels of Lasso Games. As far as I can tell, that's his real name.
I guess I should mention we also have our side content coming up for the week. Tuesday, me and Mac will be playing Final Fantasy XIV. I'll be streaming my POV on the Fragments channel, and Mac will be streaming his on the MS Presents channel. And
anyway,
Friday evening, we will be doing more Digimon Time Stranger with me, Gullix, and Ogre.
Yeah. Anyway, the Friday morning show, we will be highlighting Super Highway Rampage. Highway Rampage is a high-speed, action-packed shmup with tons of variety and replayability. Choose your vehicle, equip and upgrade new weapons, and choose your path in this arcade-style roguelike shoot-'em-up. Of course it's a fucking roguelike. Look, once again, I can appreciate the versatility, but I'm not going to lie. I'm still a bit exhausted by all the rogueliking. Anyway, that's what's coming up on the week ahead. Until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.